2 feet of rain has already fallen. The soil can't absorb any more. And now, another storm is rolling in within 48 hours. Mudslides are no longer a possibility. They're a probability. But California's crisis is just the beginning. 3 separate winter storms are converging across America right now. One is already dumping snow in the mid-Atlantic, another is gathering strength in the Rockies, and the third? It's forming into what meteorologists call a bomb cyclone. A storm so powerful, its pressure drops faster than a stone falling through water. 972 millibars. That's where this storm bottoms out by Monday afternoon. For context, Hurricane Katrina was 920 millibars at landfall. This isn't a hurricane, but that pressure reading tells you something critical. We're dealing with an extraordinarily powerful system. And here's what nobody's telling you. These 3 storms aren't isolated events. They're connected. Part of a pattern that will dominate your weather for the entire month of January. Maybe longer. In the next 30 seconds, I'm going to show you which states are in the direct path of the worst condition. But first, you need to understand what makes this weekend different from every other winter weekend you've experienced. The storm currently hitting the mid-Atlantic, it's producing snowfall rates of 1 inch per hour. Some areas even more. New York City could see up to 10 inches. Long Island, 8 to 12 inches. Western Connecticut, 8 to 12 inches. Eastern New York, near Albany, 6 to 10 inches. But here's the dangerous part. South and west of that snow, the cold air gets shallow. When cold air is shallow and warm air pushes in from the south, you don't get clean snow, you get a mix. Ice, sleet, freezing rain. That's hitting Pennsylvania, western New York, Maryland, southern New Jersey right now. A light glaze up to 1/4 of an inch of ice. Doesn't sound like much, does it? But here's what 1/4 inch of ice actually does. It weighs down trees until branches snap. It coats power lines until they break. At 2/10 of an inch, travel becomes treacherous. At 1/4 inch, we start seeing scattered power outages. And that's just from storm number 1, which will be offshore by Saturday morning. Now here's your 30-second reward. The exact timeline of when each storm hits your region. Broken down day by day, hour by hour in some cases. And at the 5-minute mark, I'm revealing the one weather pattern that will determine whether January is just cold or historically brutal. Stay with me. Storm number 2 is developing right now in the Rockies, Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado. They're watching snow accumulate through Saturday and Sunday, not just a few inches. We're talking a couple of feet in higher elevations, another foot or 2 in the Sierra Nevada mountains. But the moisture isn't the only story. It's what happens when that Rocky Mountain storm moves east. All that energy, all that cold air, it doesn't just dissipate. It reorganizes. It strengthens. And by Sunday, a low-pressure system gathers in northwestern Illinois at 992 millibars. That number matters. Watch what happens next. The system intensifies rapidly. By Monday afternoon, that same storm has dropped to 972 millibars just north and east of Michigan and Ontario. That's a pressure drop of 20 millibars in roughly 24 hours. Meteorologists call this bombogenesis, a bomb cyclone. When pressure falls that fast, winds explode. Wind gusts over 50 miles per hour are forecast, not just in the mountains, across populated areas, Chicagoland, Detroit, Cleveland, Buffalo. Cities where millions of people live and work and travel, 50-mile-per-hour winds with heavy snow. That's whiteout conditions. That's when travel doesn't just become dangerous, it becomes impossible. But there's another layer to this storm, a layer that makes it even more complex and more dangerous. On the warm side of the system, severe weather develops. Yes, severe weather. In winter, the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, has issued a marginal risk of severe weather for much of Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Illinois, western Tennessee, parts of Missouri, Arkansas, northern Mississippi. Isolated severe thunderstorms are possible, damaging winds, hail. The tornado threat remains low, but it's not zero. When you see tornado risk in late December, you know the atmospheric setup is unusual. Here's why this happens. Moisture from the Gulf of Mexico surges northward. Dew points rise into the 50 seconds all the way up into the Ohio Valley, maybe as far north as southern Michigan. That's humid air. Warm, moist, humid air, and when that clashes with the Arctic front coming in from behind, you get instability. This time of year, instability is usually weak. But it doesn't take much. The wind shear in the upper levels is significant. The low-level jet and mid-level jet work together, creating substantial wind energy. That can organize severe weather even in winter. Sunday morning, thunderstorms may start developing across northern Illinois, Iowa, northern Missouri. By Sunday afternoon, those storms cross through Chicagoland, then strengthen south and east of Chicago as the sharp Arctic front arrives. Picture this. One side of the storm producing blizzard conditions with 1 to 2 feet of snow. The other side producing severe thunderstorms with damaging winds and hail. And in between, a transition zone of ice and sleet. That transition zone is particularly treacherous. It's where you can't prepare for just one thing. You're dealing with multiple hazards simultaneously. The Upper Peninsula of Michigan, they could see 12 to 24 inches of snow. That's 1 to 2 feet. Ontario and Western Quebec, same story. Lake enhancement adds to totals. For Buffalo, New York, Erie, Pennsylvania, Watertown, New York, traditional lake effect snowbelts get hammered. Wisconsin, especially eastern and northeastern Wisconsin, could see significant snow. Eau Claire toward Green Bay, maybe Milwaukee for a time. Then, the Upper Peninsula, with lake enhancement from Lake Superior, sees heavy snow rates of 1 to 3 inches per hour. 1 to 3 inches per hour. That means in a 12-hour period, you could see 3 feet of snow. Roads become impassable. Snowplows can't keep up. Cities shut down. And all of this happens while the storm is still strengthening. While winds are still increasing. While the system continues to organize and intensify. Now let me show you something that should concern everyone watching, regardless of where you live. After these storms pass, the cold arrives. Not just cold, Arctic cold, dangerous cold. The kind of cold that kills if you're not prepared. Current temperatures across the lower 48 states are mild, much above normal. But that Arctic front pulling down from Western Canada changes everything. By the 29th and 30th of December, cold air plunges south, all the way to the Gulf Coast, all the way to North Florida, below normal temperatures. How far below? Try 30 degrees below normal in some areas. That's not a typo. 30 degrees below normal. When the clock strikes midnight on New Year's Day, look at the temperature anomalies. 40 degrees below normal for Saskatchewan, southern Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec, northern Great Lakes region into New England. 40 degrees below normal. The wind chills reach dangerous levels. 40 to 60 below zero in central Canada. With wind chills that cold, frostbite can settle in on exposed skin in less than 15 minutes. That's not cold. That's deadly. Even in New York City, if you're going to the big ball drop, wind chills will be in the teens and low 20 seconds. Bundle up. Layer up. This isn't optional. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Remember I mentioned a pattern? This cold doesn't just hit once and leave. It has staying power. 2 low-pressure systems up near Hudson Bay do something called a Fujiwara effect. You see this sometimes with hurricanes. 2 systems circling each other, dancing around each other. That's happening in the Arctic. And it locks in place a northwesterly flow over the deep snowpack in Canada. That northwesterly flow continuously pumps cold air southward into the United States. A high-pressure system builds in southern Canada and the northern U.S., 1,029 millibars. 1,034 millibars. High pressure means cold air, lots of it. Now here's your 5-minute promise. The weather pattern that determines whether January is just cold or historically brutal. High latitude blocking. That's the technical term. Blocking patterns set up near Russia and over the Arctic Circle. When that happens, it plunges the low-pressure track further south and unleashes colder air week by week through January. Let me break down the entire month for you, week by week, so you can plan, so you can prepare, so you're not caught off guard. Week 1, January 1st through 8th. The lower 48 sees some cold shots, not hugely significant yet, but noticeable cold air arrives. Week 2, January 8th through 15th. The west starts getting colder, the east moderates a little. It's a brief respite before the next wave. Week 3, January 15th through 22nd. This is the critical week. Cold air out west makes its way eastward and has a lot of staying power. The magnitude of the cold by week 3 could be pretty strong. This is when we're talking about potentially historic cold. Week 4, last week of January. The cold focuses mostly on the eastern US and southern Canada. It moderates as we get toward the end of the month, but we're still below normal. That's 4 weeks of below normal temperatures, an entire month where you're dealing with winter in a serious way. But cold is only part of the story. Where there's cold, there's snow. And the snow forecast between now and Super Bowl weekend shows something remarkable. Look how far south some of these snows could reach. Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, the Carolinas, Virginia. Southern states that don't typically see significant snow could get measurable accumulations. The heaviest snow remains across the Great Lakes, the upper Midwest, southeastern Canada, and New England. But the suggestion that southern snow is possible, that's noteworthy. It happened last year. It could happen again. Week 1 shows snowfall further north. Week 2, snowfall comes further south, especially out west where the southern Rockies could get decent snows. Week 3, look at those southern snow suggestions. Maybe not all the way to the Gulf Coast, but definitely snow chances further south than normal. Week 4, mountain snow out west continues. Northwesterly clippers across southern Canada and the northern US really take hold for the last week of January. This is a pattern, not an event. A pattern that persists, that repeats, that reinforces itself week after week. Now let's get practical. What does this mean for your daily life over the next 10 days? Tonight and Saturday, the Mid-Atlantic storm exits offshore. Cleanup begins from tonight's snow and ice. But don't relax too much. Check what fell, clear what you can, because more is coming. Saturday into Sunday, the Rockies get hammered with snow. Couple feet in higher elevations. If you're planning any mountain travel, cancel it. Not worth the risk. Sunday morning into Sunday afternoon, the severe weather threat develops across the Ohio Valley and parts of the South. Keep weather alerts on, have multiple ways to receive warnings. If you're in the marginal risk area, take it seriously. Sunday evening into Monday, the bomb cyclone intensifies over the Great Lakes. This is the big one for Michigan, Wisconsin, Ontario. Travel becomes extremely dangerous Sunday night. Plan to be home. Stock up on supplies Saturday. Don't wait until Sunday. Monday, the storm reaches peak intensity at 972 millibars. Winds gust over 50 miles per hour. Snow falls at 1 to 3 inches per hour in some locations. Power outages are possible. Have flashlights ready. Charge devices. Know where your emergency supplies are. Monday night into Tuesday, lake effect snow bands set up. Buffalo, Erie, Watertown, you know the drill. But this could be more intense than usual. The winds, the cold air over the warm lakes, it creates perfect conditions for heavy lake effect. Tuesday through Thursday, the Arctic air settles in. This is when those below normal temperatures really hit. 30 degrees below normal in some areas. Protect pipes, protect pets, protect yourself. Limit time outdoors. Friday through New Year's weekend, the cold continues but slightly moderates, still below normal, still requiring precautions. But the worst of the Arctic blasts starts to ease. New Year's Day and beyond, the pattern continues with those blocking features keeping us cold through January. That's your 10-day outlook. Now you can plan. Now you can prepare. But planning requires understanding. And there's something about these back-to-back winter storms that most people don't grasp until they're in the middle of it. It's exhausting. Physically exhausting from shoveling multiple times, from scraping ice off your car multiple times, from dealing with cold that saps your energy, and mentally exhausting from the constant vigilance, from checking forecasts, from altering plans, from stress. Pacing matters. Don't burn yourself out on the first storm. Conserve energy. Rest between systems. Ask for help when you need it. Offer help to those who need it more. Communities that work together handle extended winter patterns better than individuals going it alone. Check on elderly neighbors, share supplies, help someone dig out their car. That's practical faith in action. James 2 verse 16, if one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? Winter is when we live that out, when we demonstrate faith through action. Now, let me address California specifically, because what's happening there deserves special attention. 2 feet of rain in the past 3 days across southwestern portions of California. 2 feet. That's not drizzle. That's not a rainy week. That's a deluge. Saturated soil, swollen creeks, streams, and rivers. Mudslide potential is very real. And another system moves in within the next 24 to 48 hours. Not as much rain as the previous system. Some areas see around a quarter inch, half an inch worth of rain through Sunday evening. But on top of already saturated soil, that's enough to trigger mudslides. If you live in an area prone to mudslides, pay attention to evacuation orders. Don't wait. Don't think it won't happen to you. When soil is this saturated and more rain falls, slopes fail. It happens fast. The Sierra Nevada mountains get another foot or two in higher elevations. That's good news for snowpack and water supply long term, but short term, it means dangerous mountain travel conditions. Avalanche risk increases with fresh snow. California deals with flooding, while the Midwest deals with blizzards. Different hazards, same storm systems. That's the power of these large-scale weather patterns. Now let's talk about something most forecasts won't tell you. The human element. Winter weather kills, not just from car accidents, not just from heart attacks while shoveling, but from hypothermia when someone gets stranded, from carbon monoxide poisoning when people run generators indoors, from fires when people use alternative heating unsafely. Every winter, preventable deaths occur. People who didn't think it would happen to them, people who took unnecessary risks, people who weren't prepared. You're watching this right now, which means you're taking it seriously. Good. Now take action. Action 1. Know your risk. What winter hazards affect your specific area? Heavy snow? Ice? Extreme cold? All 3? Know what's coming so you can prepare appropriately. Action 2. Stock supplies. Food, water, medications for at least 3 days, longer if possible. If power goes out, stores might not be accessible. Even if they're open, shelves might be empty. Action 3. Prepare your vehicle. Full gas tank, winter emergency kit, blankets, water, snacks, flashlight, first aid kit, ice scraper, jumper cables. If you get stranded, that kit saves your life. Action 4. Charge everything. Phones, tablets, laptops, portable chargers. Communication is critical during emergencies. Action 5. Never use generators indoors. Not in your house, not in your garage, not in your basement. Carbon monoxide is silent and deadly. Set up generators outside, away from windows and doors. Action 6. Check heating systems. Make sure they're working properly. Change filters. Clear vents. If your heat fails during extreme cold, it's an emergency. Action 7. Protect pipes. Let faucets drip during extreme cold. Open cabinet doors under sinks so warm air circulates around pipes. Frozen pipes burst, causing thousands in damage. Action 8. Check on neighbors, especially elderly neighbors or anyone living alone. Make sure they're prepared. Offer help if they need it. Action 9. Plan for power outages. Know where your flashlights and batteries are. Have a plan for food if refrigeration fails. Consider a battery-powered radio for weather updates. Action 10. Stay informed. Monitor weather forecasts. Sign up for emergency alerts on your phone. Don't rely on just one source of information. These aren't suggestions. These are necessities. The difference between being safe and being sorry. Proverbs 27 verse 12. The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. Be prudent, see the danger. Take refuge through preparation. Now, here's something interesting about the severe weather component on Sunday. When you get severe weather in winter, it catches people off guard. They're not thinking about tornadoes in December. They're not prepared for damaging winds when it's cold outside. But the atmospheric dynamics don't care what month it is. When warm, moist air from the Gulf clashes with an Arctic front, you get severe weather, period. The tornado threat is low, but low doesn't mean zero. Most of the severe weather will be damaging straight-line winds and hail. But tornadoes can form, especially in any kinks on the leading edge of the squall line or in any supercell thunderstorms that develop ahead of the main line. If you're in the marginal risk area, have a plan. Know where your safe spot is. Interior room, lowest floor, away from windows. Have shoes and a flashlight nearby. If a warning is issued, don't hesitate. Take shelter immediately. Severe weather moves fast. Winter severe weather can move even faster because the jet stream is usually stronger. You might have only minutes of warning. Be ready. And while severe weather hits the south, remember, the north is dealing with blizzard conditions simultaneously. One storm system, multiple hazards. That's what makes this setup so dangerous and so complex. Emergency management officials across multiple states are coordinating. Power companies are pre-positioning crews. Road crews are preparing equipment. Hospitals are ensuring adequate staffing. These aren't routine preparations. These are responses to an anticipated major event. When you see that level of preparation from professionals, pay attention. They have access to detailed forecasts. They understand the risks, and they're taking it seriously. You should too. The bomb cyclone forecast for Monday is based on multiple weather models showing remarkable consistency. When models agree on a significant event days in advance, confidence increases. This isn't a maybe. This is a high-confidence forecast. 972 millibars is an impressively low pressure. For perspective, most low-pressure systems that affect the U.S. range from 990 to 1,000 millibars. Anything below 980 is considered very strong. 972 is exceptional. That low pressure creates a tight pressure gradient. Tight pressure gradient means strong winds. The isobars on the weather map pack close together. Air rushes from high pressure to low pressure, and the tighter those lines, the faster the air moves. That's why winds gust over 50 miles per hour. Combine those winds with heavy snow, and you get whiteout conditions. Visibility drops to near zero. You can't see the road. You can't see other vehicles. You can't see anything. That's when fatal accidents happen. If you absolutely must travel during the storm, extreme caution is required. Slow down dramatically. Increase following distance. Turn on headlights. And honestly, the best advice is don't travel at all. Wait it out. No destination is worth your life. The lake effect snow that follows the main storm can be just as heavy as the main event. Buffalo knows this well. When cold air rushes over the relatively warm Great Lakes, it picks up moisture and dumps it as snow. Narrow bands of extremely heavy snow set up downwind of the lakes. You can have clear skies 10 miles away and 2 feet of snow in the lake effect band. That's how localized it is. That's why lake effect snow forecasts are challenging. Small shifts in wind direction create huge differences in snow totals. But with this setup, multiple areas are in the lake effect zone. Buffalo, Erie, Watertown, all traditional spots. But the winds are strong enough and persistent enough that lake effect could extend further than usual. Areas that don't typically see heavy lake effect might get it this time. That's another reason to stay weather aware through Monday and Tuesday. Just because the main storm has passed doesn't mean the snow has stopped. Now let's talk about what happens after this immediate threat. Because the pattern doesn't break. It continues. It evolves. But it doesn't break. That high-latitude blocking I mentioned earlier sets up a persistent pattern. Cold air masses drop from Canada into the U.S. week after week. Systems develop and track along the jet stream, bringing snow and ice with them. January could see multiple significant winter storms. Not just one big event, multiple events. And between the storms, the cold persists. That's the pattern. The southern snow potential in week 3 is particularly interesting. When cold air pushes that far south and moisture is available, unusual snow events happen. Cities that rarely see snow get measurable accumulations. States that don't have snow removal equipment struggle to cope. Last year, we saw similar patterns. Parts of Texas got significant snow. The South wasn't prepared. Infrastructure failed. People weren't ready. The impacts were severe. If it happens again this January, hopefully lessons were learned. Hopefully preparations are better. But snow in the South is always challenging because it happens so infrequently that experience is limited. The Great Lakes and Upper Midwest, they know how to handle snow. They have the equipment, the experience, the infrastructure. 2 feet of snow is disruptive, but manageable. They plow, they clear. Life goes on. But 6 inches in Atlanta? That's a different story. Everything shuts down. Not because people overreact, but because the infrastructure doesn't exist to handle it efficiently. So if you live in the South and the forecast starts showing snow potential for week 3, take it seriously. Don't wait until the day before to prepare. Start gathering supplies early. Make plans. Be ready. The overall message here is clear. January 2026 is shaping up to be an active, cold, snowy month for much of the country. This isn't fear-mongering. This isn't exaggeration. This is pattern recognition based on current atmospheric conditions and forecast models. Can the pattern change? Sure. Weather always has uncertainty. But the signals are strong. The blocking patterns are forecast to persist. The cold air masses are real. The storm track is established. Preparation doesn't mean panic. It means prudent action. It means taking reasonable steps to ensure you and your family are safe and comfortable regardless of what the weather brings. God doesn't promise us smooth sailing, but He does promise to be with us through the storms. Psalm 46, verse 1, God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. That's true in spiritual storms and in winter storms. Trust in that refuge. Prepare practically. Help others genuinely. And know that winter, like all seasons, is temporary. Spring will come. But first, we navigate January together. All glory to God our Father in heaven, Yahweh. May He guide you, protect you, and provide for you through every challenge this winter brings. May you be a light to others who need help, and may you find peace in His faithfulness. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Stay weather aware this weekend. Monday's bomb cyclone is the main event, but don't overlook Sunday's severe weather threat or the Arctic cold that follows. Each component brings its own dangers. I'll be providing updates as these systems develop and move. The forecast details will be refined as we get closer. Timing might shift slightly. Snow totals might adjust, but the overall pattern is clear. Subscribe for those updates. Turn on notifications. Share this with anyone who needs to know what's coming. The more people who are informed and prepared, the better we all weather the storm. And here's what to watch for in the next update. The New Year's weekend cold and how it sets up the pattern for the rest of January. That blocking I mentioned? It could determine whether we see those southern snow events in week 3. Don't miss it, because understanding the pattern helps you plan your entire month. Winter has arrived. Not gradually, dramatically. But we're ready. We're informed. We're prepared. And together, we'll navigate whatever January brings.